to your point, renew, first definition on the Goog, to resume an activity after an interruption.
Ooh.
So again, back to whatever your faith is, I would wager you need to be in constant touch and contact with that because it makes you a better individual. It will guide you when something happens and you need an answer. An interruption comes.
Because we know interruptions are going to come.
Yes.
There's no way we're not getting through this unscathed.
100%. That's
I
life.
like that. Yeah. I like that. But that's true. So when the interruptions come, which this obviously was a big one. 9/11 was a big one.
Yes.
Pandemic was a big. There were we get interruptions. We're continually going to be bombarded with interruptions. But I just feel like an expression of faith, the expression of here's who I trust, here's why I trust. That's what prayer is, just the verbalization of that. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Renew Podcast. I am your host, Kristen Andre, and as always, we are here to help you reclaim your business and your life without losing your edge. And with me again today is the marvelous Miss Mendoza.
Hello.
Hello.
Great to be back.
Thank you for being here.
I
don't know that you had a choice, but
me back.
Hey, you know what? It's the power duo here. All right, so today we're talking about a topic though we're gonna have some fun. As you know, we are. For those of you guys watching on the live stream, I have poured myself a cup of ambition in my brand new Dolly Parton mug.
It's fantastic.
That the marvelous Miss Mendoza gave me. So I'm very excited about it. So today we're diving in to, we talked about a couple weeks ago that we're going to touch on some topics that no one likes to talk about because I'm tired of everybody just kind of skirting around and not really going deep with things. So today we're going to discuss faith and why it's so hard for people to talk about. Why they're afraid. I wouldn't even say hard. Why they're afraid to talk about it. So when I say that, when I talk about faith, and I'm not, I've said this before, I have a strong Christian faith. I'm not talking about a Christian faith. I'm talking about faith in general. Whether, I have friends that are Jewish, Christian, Catholic, Muslim, Buddhist, whatever it is, why is it so difficult for people to talk about? Because I think we need to dive deep. And before we get into it, the reason where this came about is, whenever you guys are listening to this, whether it's now or down the road, there had been a football game the other day, an NFL game with the Buffalo Bills, and Damar Hamlin had a cardiac arrest in the middle of the game. And the entire it was a traumatic thing. It was heartbreaking. It was awful to watch. And you've got these large, big, grown men on the field just in tears, and they were all down on one knee praying and everything. And that kind of started this cascade of all things faith. And there was a lot of discussion online. I even noticed on ESPN in one of the episodes, Dan Orlovsky, who is a sportscaster, who actually I had the opportunity to meet him when he was young in his 20s because I know his father, and met him when he was a young, great kid, like great kid. He's now married, got little kids, and just a strong guy, but he felt led to pray, which has never happened on a TV show or ESPN, at least since I remember. But he just said he felt led to pray, and he did. And so it kind of started this discussion, and it got Whitney and I talking about faith and why people don't talk about it much. So what do you think? What's holding people back from really bringing up things like that? It's almost like a taboo subject these days.
I feel like as a whole, we've started to take this stance that it's all or nothing instead of both.
What do you mean by that?
And. So you have to have faith in my religion or no faith because your faith is wrong.
Got it. I think that's spot on. Yeah. I think a lot of people think that way.
And we've done that with a lot of issues.
You
right?
think? This goes back to the whole wackadoodle thing that we were talking about recently and how the world is.
And I cannot pinpoint exactly when that happened because it used to not.
Right.
Used to not be that way.
Right.
you can even go back in TV shows in the 80s, and they were talking about God, and they were talking about bisexuality, and they were talking about AIDS, and all different things that were happening at that time, but somehow they were interwoven all within.
Well, it was interwoven and it wasn't controversial.
Yes.
Now it seems like people get their big boy pants and big girl pants in a wad, and it's controversial and they don't want to talk about it. So it's like no one can talk about it because one person's offended.
Yes. And we've just, instead of, having this open conversation about something that is challenging,
yep.
It feels like it just kind of gets shut down altogether instead of having an open conversation about it.
Well, and let's talk about faith because faith, when I think of faith, it's trust, it's belief in something, it's, belief in that things are going to work out, I think. And my dad said this to me yesterday. He said, people are looking for answers and they don't know where to find them. And when that happens, which happened in that football game the other night, when people are sitting there, millions of people watching, thousands, tens of thousands of people in the stands, players all around, they didn't know where to go for answers. So I think faith is where you turn. For me, it's, it's a God, it's a Jesus, it's a Christian thing, but not for everybody. That doesn't mean I'm right and everybody else is wrong. I think I'm right. I think I'm right about a lot of things, but, some people may disagree, right? But the main thing is, in that moment when they didn't know where to go for an answer, they turned to faith, whatever their faith was. And I don't see how anyone can take issue with that.
Yeah.
With seeking answers. I'm not saying where you have to go to seek it, but why is it? I mean, some people don't want people to pray or don't want people to, I don't know, they may be praying to a tree. I don't know what they're praying to, but I think it was looked down upon.
No, I agree. It's almost a negative connotation now. It feels like that this is taking on. Again, instead of, I keep coming back to the word of conversation, but I think the other flip side of it is respect, right? Like, let me find the answer where I want to find the answer.
Right.
And I should be able to share that with you and allow you to share your answer with me, and then that continue on the conversation. Again, not a complete shutdown, which is where I feel like in the recent past, I know this is opening up a lot, but I feel like that's what we've done.
Well, I think we have too, and I just looked up the definition. So if we're looking at faith, it's complete, the first definition, complete trust or confidence in someone or something. And what's funny, all right, this is funny. I'm looking this up on the Google, right? And so
Google
complete
knows.
Trust and confidence in something or someone. I can buy that. That seems like a definition. And you know how the Google likes to use it in a sentence? The sentence that the Google has, this restores one's faith in politicians. I don't know how there's ever going to be that's a lot of faith.
It's a lot of words.
Don't
tend to go together.
Don't tend to go together. Faith and politicians typically not in the same sentence. But the second definition says a strong belief in God or the doctrines of a religion based on spiritual apprehension rather than proof. So I think most of us are thinking the second, where we're going, oh, your faith is in God and your faith. Mine is, but that doesn't mean somebody else's has to be. So I feel like in the world, if you are so devout and so have such a strong belief in your faith, then yes, try to teach people that. Try to show them that. Try to share that with them.
Yeah.
But I think the best way to share that is to express it your own way and let them see you and see what it does for you and how it helps you, as opposed to trying to cram it down people's throats, which happens too.
Maybe part of our struggle is, I'm going back to your dad's quote. I really love that. It's faith is a place to go when you're searching for answers. Mm-hmm. What's interesting, in your definition, the word proof is in there.
Yes.
And faith is really the absence of proof.
Yeah, it's saying that. It's rather than proof. Yeah.
And so that is possible that adds to our difficulty of talking about it, because it can get, you and I like to use the word woo-woo. It can get woo-woo.
One of we likes to use the word woo-woo. One of us has been forced into using the word
woo-woo.
I've been embracing the woo-woo lately.
But because it feels, faith is almost like a feeling. I cannot
for sure.
show you my faith literally.
Correct.
And in our data-driven world, that's hard.
But there are
it's
ways
like,
that
show me the proof.
There are ways that people profess it. So in
Yes.
this instance, the instance that got us talking about it was prayer. People were praying for him. They were praying that he was going to okay. They were going on TV and saying, please, Lord, please, whoever you're praying to, let him be okay.
Yeah.
And I thought it was beautiful. And because of my views. And I know some people were like, they shouldn't have done that. But what was interesting to me is in the moment, this is where it really stood out to me. In the moment, when it was happening, no one was pushing back on it. No one was sitting there going, they shouldn't be doing this. They shouldn't be showing this. They were thinking that there is a man on the field who is down and we don't know what to do. We don't know how to help. So that's what people started doing. I'm going to guess half of those people there, most of them don't know him personally. They don't know his situation. I didn't know him beforehand. I've since Googled and found out, charitable work he's done, a little bit more about him and his family. But, this is, if people can come together to pray for somebody we don't know, then I don't understand what the rub is about praying for things that we want or that people need or that could be helpful.
Yeah.
So I don't see a negative in it, which is why I don't. And it thinks back. I'd reposted the Dan Orlovsky prayer because I was super proud of it. I thought he did a great job. And a couple of people were commenting about, not in a negative comment, but like, oh, well, Tebow got pushback when he did this years ago. And he did, and right, wrong, or indifferent, he got a lot of hate for showing his faith. And that's the part I wanted to talk about today because what good does it do to hate somebody for their faith or their belief in something that's helping them find the answers? I just don't see, I don't know. I mean, I don't know where it comes from. No, it comes from somewhere because people are hating on it a lot. And I think I want to draw the line here, the differentiation between faith and religion. Okay, so a lot of people who aren't overly religious, family members, ex-husband included, will say, well, religion, we don't like religion and faith are two totally different things.
There's a lot of people that have faith that don't like religion.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yes. There are a lot of strong Christians that don't like certain aspects of it. And I won't even say religion, I should say the church. So it's almost like there's all these differentiations, and we're once again lumping everybody in. And, and I'll use the Tebow example again. There was a portion of people that got aggravated and said he shouldn't be able to pray after a touchdown or pray before a game or do whatever, so we're going to cancel him. So this goes back to, we had a cancel culture discussion last season, because those of you guys that have been listening for a while know I am about as anti-cancel culture as you can be, because they canceled him because they didn't agree with that. But that's what I want to talk about with faith is, I would hope you would agree with. My hope for everybody listening is that you have something or someone or a thing that you can turn to get answers, that you can rely on when you need, confidence. Well, complete trust or confidence in someone or something. My hope is everybody has someone or something that they have complete trust and confidence in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For me, there is comfort in knowing that I'm not the one in control.
It's so not me. Yeah. I've tried for decades to be in control. It didn't work.
No, absolutely. And, the way I personally look at it is, I don't know everything that's going on, but the creator of the universe knows. And so as long as he knows, I'm down with that. And I think that, again, even if you look at everything that we're dealing with just right now, all the issues that come up that we're struggling with and we're struggling to talk about, if we look at it from a standpoint of there's something bigger than me, even if that is, people are bigger than me. Like if I see myself as more important than you, I'm going to favor myself over every situation, and I'm going to be out for Whitney.
Right.
Which doesn't serve my fellow man.
Correct.
And that's
it served Whitney.
how we
Maybe it actually probably wouldn't. It probably would not serve Whitney in the long run.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But it's the kind of the bigger thing, and it's looking at. My main thing is we all have faith in something. Some people have faith in. Some of y'all got faith in the wrong things and the wrong people. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I will say it again. Some people that you're placing your faith in, it is misplaced, which is why I choose to, place mine more on a religious standpoint. However, the whole point of bringing this up is, part of it is being able to have faith and being able to express it.
Yeah.
But the second piece of this, and where I want to dive into a little bit as well, is why did it take that for all those people to show faith in something, faith in God, the need to pray for something? Why did it take an athlete that you don't know having an absolutely gut-wrenching and heartbreaking accident to drive people to that? Because I can guarantee you those same people weren't sitting in the stadium the week before praying for whatever it is that was on their heart, or whatever it is that they needed, or whatever family member they had. And that's, some of the comments yesterday when I had posted the clip were like, what about our nurses? What about our military? What about our law enforcement? And my answer was yes, absolutely. They need these prayers too. And that's kind of what got me thinking is, why is it okay for us to do it when it's a celebrity or somebody we don't know? Like say Jeremy Renner, Hawkeye from the Avengers. He had a snowball, same thing. My kids were asking about Hawkeye and Damar. I mean, those were the two they wanted to know about. But I'm sitting here going, we've got relatives that are ill. We've got this, but it goes back to it all interweaves if you really think about it, because we've talked about the effect of cancel culture. We've talked about the effect of TV and celebrity status and all that. And it just seems like our priorities are really out of whack right now for a lot of us. I wish that everybody that was praying for him, and he needs the prayers for sure. We still don't know. We looked it up right before we went on air just to see status, and before we went to record, and still not a ton of updates. But we don't know what the outcome of that's going to be. We pray it's going to be good, and he makes a full and speedy recovery. And at the same time, there are other people in our worlds right now. I bet if we both sat and said, yeah, this person needs prayers, this person needs prayers, this person needs prayers, and the amount of people praying for him, tweeting about him, donating to his charity, which was phenomenal. Yeah. A charity that had a few $1,000s is now millions and millions of dollars in donations. My push to people listening is, what is it going to take? What is it going to take in your life? And I pray that it's not somebody close to you, but why can't we do that same thing, the same hope, the same prayer, the same charitable when it's our own world, right? I got you, didn't I? Stumper. It's true, though. We focus.
Part of what I thought of, too, talking about, like, the why does it have to take something, major happening, or in the spotlight, be it, nationwide, involving a celebrity, anything like that. I mean, I even went back to 9/11.
That's what just popped into my head, too. Yeah.
Where we prayed on national television when that happened. We all came together.
Yeah.
And then I question, maybe that's because that's how we treat it in our own individual lives. I mean, even for my faith and what I believe, I have to research it and dive in, right? So, for example, I could quote a scripture to you and say, his peace will surpass all understanding. Like, how many times have you heard that scripture?
I've heard that one, yeah.
But you don't, at least for me, I didn't really experience what that meant until when my mom died.
Yeah.
And I was going through that process of having to pick out everything and make the service and, plan it all.
All the things, yep.
Like, that's when because I felt it for myself.
And that's the part I'm getting, because if we go back to the definition, complete trust or confidence, not partial, not when big things happen, not when a celebrity gets, has a catastrophe. Complete trust and confidence, which means we have that all the time. So if we're supposed to be seeking that, if that's what faith is about, and we only practice it when something big happens, we're not going to be good at it, right? So we need to practice more.
Isaac, I got distracted because this was so good. He said God becomes an insurance policy.
Isaac said that? Isaac, good one. I like it. He's smiling.
Which is true.
Isaac's back behind the console smiling at us.
It's the thing that is there.
Yes.
Maybe we deposit a little bit, every day to keep it active, and because you have to, have to keep putting a little bit of money in it, but we really only use it when we need it. And then you pray that you never actually have to use it, right? Like that's always the argument with insurance. This is like the thing that you have to have, but you pray that you never have to use.
So why do we do that? Why do we do that? What if we could use it every day? What if it could help every day?
It surely does for me.
Right, but that's the thing. I mean, that's the thing. And I know we're talking about faith as a whole, and it translates in prayer. So, I mean, there's differences, nuances.
Yes, absolutely.
I just mean when I talk about faith is if we need to practice it and make deposits every day, it's almost become taboo to talk about.
Yeah.
Because I'm guilty of this. I'm as guilty as everybody. Like I'll sprinkle it in occasionally. I'm not sitting here going, every episode of the Renew podcast from now on is going to be faith-based. It's not that, but I think we need to be able to discuss it freely. We need to be able to pray when we need to pray for someone. We need to be able to ask for prayers when we need them. Like all the things that allow us to have trust and confidence in everything that's happening. And honestly, I feel right now with the world going crazy, it's going to be more important than anything else.
Okay, you ready for this?
Whitney. All right, for those of you guys not watching on the live screen, Whitney has a grin, which always means there is something snappy about to come.
It's another definition time, folks.
Oh Lord, here we go.
Okay.
I just hear I go, Lord.
But to your point, renew. First definition on the Goog, to resume an activity after an interruption.
Oh.
So again, back to whatever your faith is, I would wager you need to be in constant touch and contact with that because it makes you a better individual. It will guide you when something happens and you need an answer. An interruption comes.
Because we know interruptions are going to come.
Yes.
There's no way we're not getting through this unscathed.
100%. That's life.
I like that. Yeah. I like that. But that's true. So when the interruptions come, which this obviously was a big one. 9/11 was a big one.
Yes.
Pandemic was a big. There were we get interruptions. We're continually going to be bombarded with interruptions. But I just feel like an expression of faith, the expression of here's who I trust, here's why I trust. That's what prayer is, just the verbalization of that. I feel like that is a good way to renew or reset or kind of get back into where you need to go. And I feel like that's what a lot of these people were doing. And you'll hear, my main thing is I want it to be more often. I want it to be before catastrophe.
Right.
Like you said, there's interruptions. Not all interruptions are catastrophic, for sure. But I feel like the catastrophic ones are the ones that catapult people. And maybe it may be your aha moment. If what happened with him and what happened with Dano, Dan praying on air, if that made 10 more people go, man, that, if he miraculously makes some good improvements and we see some great outcomes, if people go, oh, that prayer worked. I mean, that's the cool thing. If they go, oh, this worked, then maybe more people do it. But I think the two components is, one, I want people to have complete trust and complete confidence in something, whatever it is. God, higher power, universe. I've heard a bunch of them. For me, it's God, but I want people to have complete trust and confidence in something. But two, I want them to not be afraid to verbalize that.
And I think I think that's key. Instead of shutting it down, get curious about it.
Right. Yeah.
Ask questions and learn more.
Well, and like I said, I have number of friends in other religions, and I'm always curious about them. And it's not from a standpoint of my religion's right and this doctrine's right and this one's wrong. Yeah. It's more like tell me what your beliefs are. Why do you feel this way? What is the history? I'm trying to learn. I'm seeking to understand. And I think that goes back to the cancel culture that we've talked about before. The whole reason people are cutting people off and mad at, upset with other religions or intolerant of other religions or ready to cancel Tim Tebow and his precious little self. And, whatever it is, it's because they aren't seeking to understand first. They're just saying, this is not in agreement with me. This is not the same thing I think. So it goes back to if the thunks they're thinking are not the same as you, it doesn't give you the right to just say you can't do that. Yeah. You shouldn't do that.
Well, I think I said on a previous show that I love opposing viewpoints because it's either going to challenge me to look at something differently or learn something new, or it actually confirms what I believed in the first place. Right. So I love having that back and forth. And if we just shut that down, then you don't get that from both.
Right,
both
but
angles.
There's a difference between a back and forth dialogue and a seeking information and understanding than a you're wrong and here's what I think.
Absolutely.
So there's a way to present it. And I've seen this, and you guys know I try not to pick on the 20s and the millennials, but I do sometimes. Whitney is one, so I can say, not 20. Oh, you've graduated to your 30s now.
I have. I think I'm still considered
you're an older millennial.
But yeah, I'm on the
But that's one of the discussions we've had, and it's stereotypical, and I pre-apologize for that. Y'all can cancel me if you need to. But it's one of the things where the generation is very equipped educationally. There's a lot, ever since they were born, there was information at their fingertips. They could look up anything. And what I've found as an adult is, and now with the interwebs, I can back up any argument on the internet, any argument on either side of it. Yep. And so what I've seen in younger generations, not everybody, but younger, a lot of times it's like, here's my belief and here's everything to back it up. The stats, the data, the numbers, the quotes, all the things to back it up with no seeking of understanding about the opposing viewpoint. And that's where I challenge everybody, whatever your position is on faith, is let's just figure out. I'm not saying it's wrong to not have faith. I'm just saying it helps me a heck of a lot. So if people could just take a minute to say, okay, what has this done for us in this situation? Get curious. Why were all these people, why did every guy out there drop to their knees? Why did all of a sudden these big guys that we think are these tough macho, and they are, but what was making them break down in tears? I mean, I'm a sympathy crier, so literally I'm seeing all these like O-line guys out there like sobbing, and I start crying, and I don't even know who the player was. But if we could really seek to put ourselves in other people's position, and this is why my suggestion or what I'm trying to implore people who are faith-based and aren't afraid to talk about their faith is to do it more, to share the good stuff, to share how it's helped, to share how prayer has helped. Because if you do that, then maybe, just maybe, the other people that are out there will get curious and start asking questions and start wanting to check it out themselves. We want them to check out the good stuff.
Is it appropriate to quote Mike Tyson on this episode?
Hey. Mike, it is. Are you doing it in the mic voice? No, you can quote whoever you would like. I'm a little scared.
Do it in his voice,
I'm a little scared where this might be going, but you quote.
No, I saw an interview with him recently, and I wrote down what he said because I think it points to your point.
Oh Lord.
No, it's
Mike and I are
so good though. Yeah, it's so good.
We typically think alike.
I might have been surprised that Mike Tyson said this. Okay, he said, sometimes I get in my head and I think I'm somebody and I get offended. Then I remember I'm nobody and I don't get offended.
That's interesting. I've not heard that quote from him or not heard that interview.
It was an interview.
I know. He's an interesting bird.
But
I loved him in The Hangover. But it
with the tiger.
Yeah,
yes.
with the tiger. But but it's interesting because you're right. That makes a lot of sense because if it's really about getting rid of ego.
Yeah, Yes.
Like faith in a higher power, in God, in somebody else is laying down your ego enough to say, I can't do this by myself.
Yes.
I can't fix this by myself. I can't grow as much as I can grow, use all my strengths by myself. That's what faith really is about, is trusting and expanding that.
And
Mike Tyson, look at that.
I'll have to find the interview and send it to you. But it's also, that back and forth, I go back to respect of perhaps we just shouldn't be so easily offended.
What? Say that again for the people in the back row, Miss Mendoza.
Let's not get so easily offended about everything.
Well, and that's the thing, this is why I thought it would be safe, quote unquote, to do this episode now.
Yes.
Because we talked about this episode before. I ran the topic list by one of my children, and literally let me call her. I ran the topic list by Mia. You remember this at the beginning of the season because she's co-hosted a number of times, and she pointed out like 4 of them. She goes, "You're gonna get slammed," and she said, "Cancel." She goes, "Cancel, cancel, cancel." Faith was one of them, and I've really wanted to talk about this. And it's not that I'm scared to. Well, I don't know that I'm scared to talk about it. But there is a little bit of fear, like people going to be like, oh my God, she's, now it's a religious podcast or whatever, which is cool. Y'all can think whatever you want to think. But I was hesitant to. And now, because everybody, all of a sudden now I'm not going to say it's cool, but people are embracing it. And I hate that it takes a catastrophe, but unfortunately, I feel like a lot of times it takes something catastrophic to bring people together and to bring them to the same side of the table, if you will.
And avoiding generalities. Just because I say I'm X doesn't mean I'm Y.
Mm-hmm.
And we communicate those generalities across the board too.
Well, and I think
in all facets.
Yeah, and we kind of do it everyone. Like I always tell people, if the sentence starts with everybody does this or everyone thinks this, then it's wrong.
Yep.
I can't find one thing that everyone breathes, but some people aren't even breathing. So we really can't find. Wasn't there a book called Everyone? Never mind, I'm not even going to go there. But for little kids, I'm not going to go there. For you parents listening, you know exactly which book I'm talking about. That is the only thing that everyone does. But when it comes to faith and to believe, this is an opportunity for all of us to figure out where we can be faithful. And I just was pulling up some quotes, and we all MLK Day has come up, and faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the staircase. So there's a difference in faith and prayer.
Yeah.
But faith means I trust someone, something, God, to be able to let me take this step forward. So my urging to everybody listening is, what are the small things that you can do in faith? What are the small steps you can take to grow your faith and wherever you would like to grow it? I'd like to see you growing it with God, but you know what? You do you, boo. It's just trying to figure out, what's my step? How can I grow in this? Right?
Yeah.
And so one of the ones that just came up, it says, to one who has faith, no explanation is necessary. Which is kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. Have you ever had, and I know a couple people, and when I say a couple, I mean maybe like 2, maybe 3 people that just have so much faith that things are going to work out, that they almost have like just an ease about them, where they don't, that thing we have called stress that I tend to harbor, right?
Shows up in your shoulders.
It shows up in my shoulders. This is people that have an abundance of faith. And like I said, they're rare. Mm-hmm. But I've known a couple in my life that are just so filled with faith that they're like, it's good.
Yeah.
It's just, I've got this. God's got this.
Well, again, a lot of that comes from experience, and it's a feeling that particular individuals, probably seen all throughout their life where that had been proven true.
Right.
And again, who am I to discount your experience with whatever your faith is?
Yeah. Well, and if you're really looking at it, like it should be faith in like if your faith is in another person, God, whoever, that should permeate to everything. And I was following a feed on Twitter yesterday from Mandy Hale about a dating thing, and she's a New York Times bestselling author. She's hilarious, Southern and sassy, which I love. So I was following it, and one of the comments she made was like, "It's so hard for me to let go of control." And I don't know about you guys, not that I've ever been a control freak in my life.
Me either.
But until the age of 52, until the age of 41 and 3/4, or 51, I would say I'm a recovering control freak. And for those people that want to have everything in their control, they want to have, I don't know, just the grip so tight. I can do this, I can affect this, I can control this. And usually we're the people that hit a wall really darn hard, whether it's an illness, a divorce, an injury, something catastrophic happened. We hit that wall and we're forced to realize I can't control this all.
Yeah.
And when you are somebody who wants to control, and that's what Mandy was saying in her thread, is like, it is really hard for me to relinquish control. And I used to have, those people who seem to have it all and seem to be they'd always go, let go, let God. I'm like, cute rhyme, very cute. That's funny. I'm still going to try to hold on and control this, right?
Yes.
And it took a lot. And I don't do this in all areas of my life. And that's what Mandy was saying in her quote. She goes, I can do this in every area of my life except for relationships. I'm like, bingo, right? But the minute you surrender and put your faith in God and a higher power in something that's not you, that's when the really cool stuff starts to happen. And that's kind of my hope with this whole catastrophe with with Damar and his injuries, is that maybe, just maybe, we start to take a closer look at that. Maybe, just maybe, people start to go, you know what? I should pray for this. Or I was praying for him. I should pray for my uncle who's in the hospital. Or, man, you know what? I went to that game and I saw this and I saw everybody praying, and I've really been needing a miracle in my life, whether it's career, relational, whatever. I just hope it's a catalyst for more of that. Because I can't find a thing wrong.
Here.
I can't find a thing wrong with what happened the other day. And I think people would be hard-pressed to do it, too. If you do, feel free to, if there was something wrong in your eyes, feel free to leave a comment. But I think I'm hoping and praying it's a good momentum shift and going back the other way. What say you, Miss Mendoza?
I concur. No, in all seriousness, yes. To allow the space for this to happen as well, right? It's almost like when this happened out on the field, time stopped. I mean, they even postponed the game.
Yep.
And look at this and allow for that space now while time has stopped. And because the other thing that I feel like brought this up is because it truly reminds us how fragile we are.
Yeah.
I think, a lot of people saw, the young man, he's 24.
24, yeah. The age of my child, yep.
So it's...
And in fantastic shape, like a professional athlete. Yeah.
So just the space to experience it, and then also kind of level set ourselves in that moment.
So I think, I agree. And allowing ourselves space and adding faith, prayer, everything to your arsenal. Because one of the other ones, because y'all know I'm a quote junkie, this is from the wise Plato. So this was, which is funny because, he's not new. He's been around. He's been around a little while.
Was around a little while.
But the quote says, we are twice armed if we fight with faith. And I think that's interesting because we are trying to fight alone, but what harm's it going to do if we sprinkle in a little faith? You got to have faith, Whitney. You got to have faith.
Thank you, George.
You're welcome. I want to make sure you got that one.
I did. Thank you. So in the other analogy, too, that came to my mind with Plato. Is that Plato?
Plato. It was Plato.
Jobs. And when you need a job, And everyone knows you can't be going to networking events and making connections on LinkedIn when you're looking to make an exit or when you've been let go. That is all stock, if you will, that you have to build up before you need it.
You have to do it daily. It's a daily discipline.
Yes. So, like, do it again, back to do it now. Do it now before time stops, because.
Well, and I also think it's a cumulative effect.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, like if I'm thinking it just the way my brain works, because y'all know it's not right on most days. But, it, you know, if we're building from a prayer standpoint, you know, if I'm knocking on, I've got the list of prayer, the prayer line. If I'm going once because I need a job and once because, you know, I'm 16 and really want to date with a cute boy, or I really want this new car, or if I'm going once every few years when things really are important, how quickly am I getting through that prayer line when I could have the fast pass because I've been doing it daily and just zip on by everybody? I mean, I'm sure that's not how it works, but I got to think there's some power in practice.
Absolutely.
And power in, you know, not that God's not listening to all our prayers, but you know, that the movie made me think of it. What was the movie with Morgan Freeman where it was like all the prayers coming in so much, and I'm like, there's a lot of stuff people
Bruce
are praying
Almighty
for.
and,
no, that's a different. Is it Bruce Almighty?
There were like two, right? Wasn't there Bruce and then Evan? Bruce
Evan
Almighty and Evan
I think
Almighty?
He was, yeah, it was one of them, something like that.
Okay,
but it was like it was the bombardment. So people are praying. They're asking for stuff.
Yes.
But I think if you just kind of get in, and it's not just prayer, I think is asking for something. It's specific. Well, prayer is actually a communication, a conversation, and you don't always have to ask for something. But I think with faith, it's just a matter of making it part of your discipline instead of just asking, and part of it is like, okay, I trust that this is going to be okay. I have trust in this thing. So I'm differentiating prayer and faith a little bit, but I think they go hand in hand.
It's a little like going to the gym. You got to go a couple of times before you maybe see some results and feel something. Yeah.
Well, that's not. I'll let you stick with that analogy. It's not my area of expertise. I am way better at praying daily than I am at going to the gym daily. So, which is good. I think in the long run I may win out.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
I could be wrong, but no, the main thing is really I want people to start thinking two things. One, how can you grow your faith? Whether that's through prayer, through study, through whatever your religion is, how can you grow the faith and the trust in the things that are unseen? The trust in what and who can help make things better, that can move your situation along. And the second thing is really, how can you be a better human, a better open, a person that's better and more open to other people that may not do it the same as you? And that's where I just want it to not take a catastrophe to move us, because the pendulum was so far over to crazyville that anybody was getting, you know, and I realize there's been religious persecution and things like that for decades. So I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about faith and the faith that you want to place in wherever you're placing it. But allow people to be them and seek to understand and ask questions and figure out how we can all help each other and have faith in the things that are for all of our common good. Yep. Think so, Whitney?
I agree.
Whitney's nodding in agreement here, so I think so. But all right, so as takeaways, what would you, as we wrap, what would you, if somebody's listening, one of the young whippersnappers like yourself is listening, where do they start? If, is in terms of everything we talked about, faith, tolerance.
If I'm specifically,
you can specifically talk to whoever you would like to talk to.
The young whippersnappers, is that?
You can speak to the young whippersnappers. Do they know what you know what a whippersnapper is?
I know what a whippersnapper
because you're like young going on 90, but
thank you. I think we should remember that we got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
2 ears and 1 mouth.
Just pause. Just pause for a moment before, you say something or just take a moment.
Yeah.
Because I think that's where, rushing into it often is never a good idea. And you rushing into something could cut off something else that you didn't see because you only looked one way. That's what I would say.
I like that. That's
you.
good. That's good. And all I would add is that faith is, it's living every day. It's trusting in the confidence that you placed in God, in a higher power, whatever you're placing your confidence, not in the crazy people, but it's trusting in that. But my urging to everybody else is, let's start to be more, I don't want to say vocal, we'll kind of do. Let's start to show it. Let's start to show and talk about where we're placing our faith. Let's start to share the good stories of how faith has helped, how prayer has helped, how, and then don't be afraid to tell somebody that you have faith in them, that you're praying for them, that you're hoping they do well, because sometimes in people's darkest, deepest moments, that may be a cool thing to hear. So I think if more people could show compassion and lift others up as they were trying to do, with Damar during his injury and in the days since, I think we'd be a far better place and have a lot more compassion for one another. And compassion is something that's hugely, hugely needed right now. And I do feel strongly that faith is a good way, and prayer and tolerance is a good way to lead us towards that. Yep.
So good.
So good.
Yeah.
I like it. So as you guys are listening, as we wrap, this is probably one of the topics that, it's I'd say more of a serious topic than we typically cover, but I felt really called to do it because it was a beautiful thing to see everybody coming together. And I don't think I've ever seen an NFL stadium with two opposing teams that were rallying behind one thing and all thinking and feeling the same thing. And it was beautiful. And I think we have so many more commonalities than we do differences, and so much more good in us than we have evil, that I think we need to focus on that and not let the differences and not let the evil win. So until next week, that's my challenge for you. Go out, make a difference, find the commonalities, find the good, and keep pushing forward. So we will see you guys right back here next week for another episode of Renown.